Good evening, America. Tonight, a public service announcement. I'm about to make you an offer that very few rabbis in 3,000 years have had the courage to make. Honestly, you want to be rich? Convert to Judaism. Come on in. The water, and apparently the money, is fine. I mean it. Everyone knows the deal. Jews have money. So if you have money, become one of us. Simple math. Well, let's do the math together tonight. Well, what are you waiting for, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, TikTokers? Step right up tonight, and only tonight only. The offer of a lifetime. You've heard the rumor. Everybody's heard the rumor. Jews are rich. It's the world's worst kept secret, and I am here tonight to tell you the secret's out and the door is open. And in the time when I'm doing my lives, people always say, Rabbi, what stock should I buy? Rabbi, how do I become rich? Other things. So it's the world's worst kept secret. So convert today and you could be rich. Rich. Not a little rich, spectacularly rich. Sign here and watch the fortune roll in. That's not a promise, folks. That's a guarantee. 3,000 years of tradition, and every bit of it pays out. Best deal in religious history. Nobody offers you this kind of return. Step up, sign in, cash in. You'll wonder why you waited. You'll wonder why your neighbors didn't tell you sooner. This offer, tremendous offer, will not last. And here's what you get. Obviously, that's the whole offer. Wealth. Well, you also get 5,000-year-old libraries worth of arguing about everything. A guaranteed opinion on your career choices from at least 3 relatives by Shabbat dinner. And a calendar so complicated, you'll need a second calendar just to track the first. But riches, guaranteed, that's the headline now. Quick. Because I want to be a good salesman. And I'm going to give you some real numbers before you wire me your deposit. Nearly 1 in 5 Jewish households in America report that they're struggling to make ends meet or just barely managing. That's happening all across our country now. The economy's bad, and Jews are suffering. Jews are having just as many problems. In New York, home to the largest Jewish population in the country, 20% of Jewish households are poor or near poor, and more than 1/3 of Jewish children live in or near the poverty. But hey, riches, let's just move on. Come on, don't let that distract you. Now, some restrictions may apply. By apply, I mean there's no financial threshold in Jewish law for conversion. A rabbinic court has never asked a candidate for a bank statement. There's no riches clause in the conversion paperwork. I read the paperwork. I wrote the paperwork. What you will find, if you're actually looking, is a fairly ordinary religious minority with an ordinary income distribution, some wealthy, many middle class, a meaningful and often invisible slice living below or near the poverty line, including elderly Holocaust survivors and large Orthodox families who get left out of the stereotype entirely because they just don't fit. So if you're still here for the riches, hang tight. The offer's coming. I promise. You caught what I was doing, right? I mean, it's an old trick. And I stole it from the best. Act 3 of Shakespeare's Julius Caesar. A quick summary, a setup for those of us that missed English class. Brutus and a group of senators have just assassinated Caesar. Brutus gets up first and tells the crowd he did it out of a love for Rome. Caesar was getting too powerful. And Brutus killed him for the public good. The crowd buys this. Everybody loves Brutus. Then Mark Antony gets up. And here's the part that everyone remembers, the opening line. Friends, Romans, and countrymen, lend me your ears. I come to bury Caesar, not to praise him. Sounds like Antony's there to agree with Brutus, right? But he's really not. Watch what Antony actually does. He says, the noble Brutus hath told you Caesar was ambitious, and Brutus is an honorable man. He then gives a fact that doesn't fit. Caesar brought home ransom money that filled Rome's treasury. That's one. Was this Caesar ambitious? He then circles back. Yet Brutus says he was ambitious, and Brutus is an honorable man. Mark Antony does this 3 more times. Caesar refused the crown publicly 3 times. And was this ambition? And every single time, Antony lands right back on, Brutus is an honorable man. The same five words over and over again. You keep telling the lie over and over again. And even though the facts don't support the lie, you counter them. You present, Caesar wasn't ambitious. He wasn't any of those things. But Antony keeps saying Brutus is an honorable man. And here's the trick. Repetition is doing the opposite of what it sounds like it's doing. Every time Antony says honorable man, he's already stacked another fact against it that doesn't fit the words. By the 4th or 5th repeat, the phrase is flipped. The crowd isn't hearing honorable anymore. They're hearing liar. Antony never once says Brutus is lying. He doesn't have to. He gets the crowd to say it for him. By the end of the speech, that same crowd is literally rioting to burn Brutus's house. And that's exactly the shape of what I did tonight. I said Jews are rich. Jews are exceedingly rich. They're very, very rich. They're taking all the money. A P.T. Barnum voice, big and confident. Same as Antony saying honorable man. And then, right alongside it, I was dropping facts that doesn't fit. High poverty numbers among Jews. Jews having to work and struggle. Jews buying gasoline at the same price as you are. The fact that doesn't fit. The conversion has nothing to do with money. I said it. I sold it. I undercut it, and I said it again. And then, if you were going along with me, the claim flipped on its own. Same as Brutus's honor. I didn't have to argue with the stereotype. I just let it stand next to the truth long enough. And that's the whole technique in one sentence. Repeat the claim you want people to doubt right next to the evidence that undercuts it. Don't editorialize. Let the contradiction do the work. I'm going to look down at some of the questions. It's neat, Daniel, that you asked about thoughts on Hitler because, in a sense, he was a P.T. Barnum. He was a charlatan. And he told the people what they wanted to hear. And like any good cult, the people believed, even though the facts stood contrary to what Hitler taught. Jews weren't controlling the banks. Jews weren't the source of the problem. Really wasn't. And someone just always asks me about Israel or Palestine, and I just have an observation for those of you asking. I believe in a Palestine beside Israel, not a Palestine instead of Israel. Too many of you are pushing Palestine to the extermination of Israel. We don't support that. That's not a country. That's not what Saudi Arabia wants, not what Egypt wants, not the Emirates want, not Jordan wants. What we're looking for is a Palestine beside Israel, not instead of Israel. And if you move around to that, I think we'll get to see a Palestine. But as long as the battle cry is to kill, to destroy, to push into the sea, there never will be a Palestine, and the resistance will get stronger. Yeah. And so it is with convert to Judaism and get rich. The facts stand for themselves. Jews just fit right in with the bell curve, right in. Now, somebody says, can a woman be happy if she never has children? Certainly. It's nice to have children, nice to have a family. However, our individual happiness doesn't depend on the circumstances around us, because often we can't control the circumstances, and then we make choices. And so we have to start looking for what is the source of our happiness. And again, I totally support a Palestine beside Israel. And one can certainly be a righteous Gentile. One can be a certain righteous any denomination. One doesn't have to belong to any specific religion, any specific denomination in order to be righteous. I don't approve or agree with what the IDF is doing. I don't approve of Israeli politics. I'm an American. I'm not an Israeli citizen. And so I don't support what the country Israel is doing right now. I'd like to see it turn and stop. But as I've mentioned before, Israel does not represent Judaism. It's a country. And it's doing what it thinks is best for its survival, and I don't agree with what it's doing. Remember, war is worse than hell, because people in hell deserve to be there. The civilians and the people killed, maimed, and murdered due to a war don't deserve it. So that makes war far worse than hell. And I'm often asked about supporting the Talmud. And I find that a very strange question, because the Talmud is rabbinic discussion of the oral laws. The rabbis intended it to be ongoing through all generations and not frozen in time. But the Orthodox froze it, and they often pick one argument and present it as if all Jews agree with it. The Talmud always has the majority and minority opinion. It never gives a single view. It doesn't tell us what to do. It says, this is the majority vote, this is a minority vote, these are the arguments, what do you think? Yeah, it's like the comment section on social media. Let's get back to our topic, convert to Judaism and get rich. And if any of you would like to chat or talk to me about conversion, my email, RabbiBlock@hotmail.com, doesn't cost anything, no obligation. We can meet once, we can meet 20 times, we can meet for 10 minutes, and you can say, thank you, Rabbi, I'm done. I don't work on a commission. I don't get any points for getting people to convert to Judaism. Nothing. I'm a teacher. And so if you're interested in conversion, because it's fascinating, because Judaism doesn't recruit. We don't knock on doors. We don't hand out pamphlets. In fact, here on TikTok, I don't seek converts. I always do what I just did. I invite people to email me. I'll be glad to answer questions, but I'm not looking to convert anyone. No. And historically, Judaism only once in a time of error sought to seek converts. And so as a result of that weak attempt, Judaism made conversion harder, not easier. And the goal was for those people seeking to convert, have you honestly thought about it? Is this something you really want to do? And that's why some of my colleagues make it more difficult rather than easy. A sincere conversion takes about a year of study. It depends on what you've looked at before, how much you've studied. And when I work with individuals for conversion, the first things we explore is the why. I'm not going to get rich, that's for sure. And so it may actually cost money, not for me. I don't charge anything. Like I said, I don't get a commission. I don't get a closer place in heaven because I brought people into Judaism. No, nothing in it. No one comes out after they convert being richer. Some people actually find that they use their money for tzedakah, for doing the right thing, for charity, tuition for school, community obligations. However, when you come to convert, what you get is a framework, a people, an argument that's been running for 3,000 years, an obligation to care about people who have less than you. That's the real pitch. That's a harder sell. You're not going to get into any special place that other people are excluded from. There's no reward. What you'll understand is everyone was created in God's image. And how do you want to treat God when you meet them? An obligation to care about everyone. That's Judaism. If you want to convert to get rich, you might want to get an MBA or learn how to sell short in the market. Convert because you want the text, the people, the obligation, the argument. Don't convert for the punchline, because the punchline was never true. Never, never true. And, people have these accusations, kind of weird. I would suggest, rather than promoting any one religion, why don't you become a lighthouse for Jesus? Why don't you live in such a way that people will look at you and go, that's really neat. I want to find out more about his religion, rather than telling me I'm going to a dark place, or I'm going to be punished, or my only freedom lies. Don't do that. I've come to bury Caesar, not to praise him. You really want to get people? Be a lighthouse. Live by example. Run for politics. School board, county executive. There are a lot of places one can run. And Jesus was Jewish, born a Jew, died a Jew, and on the cross, Eli, Eli, lama sabachthani, from the Psalms, my God, why hast thou forsaken me? That's what many of us in the final confession might say before going on. I'm reading, but someone going, I'm getting a lot of political comments It's good. It's a good forum. And I want to come back to an Israel and a Palestine beside each other, not instead of each other. So that's my advice for those of you who want to support. And I also would suggest, if you want to win me over, saying some, they're not even, funny. They're funny in that it makes no sense what you're saying. You really want to get attention. And you're certainly entitled to. So I'm going to offer one of you who keeps asking me about Hitler, come and co-host with me next week. Daniel, be my co-host next week. I bet you won't, because you really don't want to talk about the subject. But I'm offering it. Email rabbiblock@hotmail.com, and we'll meet in my Zoom room, and we'll come up with questions for each other. We'll come up with a way to respect each other. We'll come out a way to co-host. You can say whatever you want. I don't bleep anybody. Nothing. If you're going to co-host with me, no holds barred. It's all anything you want. Okay? And Daniel, I'm going to be waiting for the email from you so we can discuss Nazi Germany and the benefits and the freedom that, remember, Hitler murdered 6 million Jews. He also murdered 12 million Russians, Poles. He sent Roman Catholic priests and nuns into the ovens. So it wasn't just a Holocaust for the Jewish people. The Jewish people were singled out as a block. Everyone else were those that protested, objected, or even, oh, good, someone just said, can you make me rich? Yes, that's my topic. Convert to Judaism and get rich. There you go. Tell me when you're ready to convert. Mm-hmm. And someone just asked about how one goes about converting. Send me an email, please, and we can do a phone, we can do a Zoom, anything you want. I'll be glad to go through the process with anyone. It's not appropriate for someone to discuss personal things and discuss what your choices are in this open forum. That's something that we should discuss privately between the two of us. Okay? Someone said, I'm ready to... Okay, if you're ready to convert live, again, I want you to email me. We'll talk. So you'll know what you're getting into. We'll set it up, and we'll do a live conversion here on TikTok. You got it. Mm-hmm. It's kind of fun. And would want to discuss, and this is why it becomes personal, different branches of Judaism have different systems. And, well, let me spend the last 4 minutes with this. Conversion in Judaism comes from the book of Ruth, where Ruth says to Naomi, your God will be my God, your people will be my people. Whether thou goest, I will go, I will follow you. That's the basis for conversion, is accepting Judaism. No reward, no special anything. And Ruth, it happens, is King David's great-great-grandmother. So Judaism has always respected converts. And for those of you who are having some concerns about the Holocaust, whether it really happened, I suggest you go to the Holocaust Museum here in D.C., and you take the elevator to the top floor, and you can read the words of former President Eisenhower General Eisenhower. And if you like, Google General Eisenhower's comments on the Holocaust. If you have concerns about it's a hoax or someone made it up, there are some trustworthy people that will give you the information you need. So you realize that it wasn't a hoax, it wasn't made up, and the fact that only a certain number of real death certificates were issued is totally irrelevant, because the whole thing was to exterminate a specific group and exterminate anyone that protested, anyone that challenged Hitler. And Pope Pius, and there's been a lot of conversation about him, was walking a very real tightrope. He was trying to protect priests and nuns and Roman Catholics, and at the same time realizing that Hitler needed to be stopped. And as we study Pope Pius more, we realize the precarious position he was in order to try to protect his people and at the same time stand up against what was going on. Well, we're coming to the end of our time together this evening, and my offer stands. If you'd like to convert, if you want to talk about conversion, or if you want to co-host, not a problem. I'm agreeing with you right up front. Good evening, and thank you for spending this half hour with me, and thank you for listening. Good evening.